the quiet suburb of Eldridge, where maple trees lined the streets and families gathered for barbecues under the summer sun, Sarah Thompson began to unravel. She was 32, a high school teacher with a laugh that could light up a room, and a husband, Mark, who adored her. But lately, the shadows in her mind had grown longer, whispering things that no one else could hear. It started small. Sarah would wake in the night, convinced that something was watching her from the closet. She'd laugh it off in the morning, blaming stress from grading papers or the endless parent-teacher conferences. Mark noticed the changes first, her eyes glazing over during dinner, her hands trembling as she poured coffee. "It's nothing," she'd say, forcing a smile. But then came the voices. They weren't audible to anyone else, but to Sarah, they were as real as the rain pattering against the window. Harsh, guttural murmurs that clawed at her thoughts. "You're worthless. They'll all leave you. End it now." She fought them, drowning them out with music or long runs through the park. But they always returned, stronger, twisting her memories into nightmares. One evening, as Mark watched TV, Sarah stood in the kitchen, staring at a knife on the counter. The voice urged her forward, promising peace in the blade's edge. Desperate, Mark took her to a psychiatrist. Schizophrenia, the doctor diagnosed after tests and sessions. Auditory hallucinations, paranoids, a chemical imbalance in the brain. "We can manage it with medication." But Sarah resisted the pills at first, terrified they'd dull her spirit. Instead, she turned to the church her grandmother had dragged her to as a child. Father Elias, an aging priest with kind eyes and a skeptical mind, listened to her story. "It's a demon," Sarah whispered during confession. "It wants my soul." Father Elias had seen this before, not literal demons, but the demons of the mind. In his years, he'd performed exorcisms that were more about ritual and comfort than banishing spirits. He agreed to help, gathering holy water, crucifixes, and a circle of prayer warriors from the parish. The episode, as Mark later called it, unfolded on a stormy Friday night in their living room. Sarah writhed on the floor, screaming obscenities in a voice that wasn't hers, deep, rasping, like gravel grinding underfoot. "She is mine," it bellowed through her lips. Father Elias chanted Latin prayers, sprinkling water that sizzled on her skin, or so it seemed in the dim light. The group held her down as she convulsed, her eyes rolling back, foam flecking her mouth. Mark watched in horror, torn between faith and science. Was this possession, like the stories from ancient texts? Or was it the brain's betrayal, a storm of misfiring neurons amplified by fear and suggestion? In the end, after hours of struggle, Sarah collapsed, exhausted but calm. The voice receded, not gone forever, but subdued. Weeks later, with therapy and antipsychotics, Sarah stabilized. She returned to teaching, sharing her story in hushed tones with close friends, not as a tale of supernatural evil, but as a reminder of the real demons that lurk in mental illness. The ones that society once attributed to hellish forces, now understood through scans and studies. Yet, in quiet moments, she wondered, what if the line between the two was thinner than anyone admitted? What if the ancient fears held a kernel of truth, echoing the chaos within us all? Mark held her closer those nights, grateful for the peace. But in Eldridge, the shadows lingered, a subtle warning that not all battles are won with prayers or pills alone. Sometimes, the real connotation of a demon is the fight to reclaim one's own mind from the abyss. Thank you for listening. Join our always growing legion. Discover Satan World.